Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal, the International. I'm called Morinzi at Top Stories. Motorcycles can now circulate freely within Bali subdivision, northwest region of Cameroon. This follows a prefectural lifting the ban earlier imposed after the killing of 5 police officers. And lecturers of the University of Bamenda are on their third day of a strike action today following the rising insecurity and numerous threats on their lives. And the importance of statistics, especially with the population census, has been underscored for better decision-making of the nation. And South African cleric Desmond Tutu is no more. The bishop died today at the age of 90. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. Though they had already begun circulating, motorbikes can now circulate freely within Bali, northwest region of Cameroon. This follows a prefectural order lifting a ban earlier imposed after the killing of 5 police officers. The details in the following story. One day to the expiry, the senior divisional officer for MESAM has lifted a 3-month ban on the circulation of motorbikes in Bali subdivision, northwest region of Cameroon. In a release signed on Tuesday, October 19, charges the divisional officer for Bali and heads of law enforcement services to see into the implementation of the order, which had, however, been floated by more than a month ago as bikes were already plying the roads, probably due to the hardship that came along with the July 20 prefectural order that followed the killing of 5 police officers by separatist fighters. After the SDO's move yesterday, separatist fighters who also issued a counter ban through social media 3 months ago have, in a voice message, fixed October 22 as a day to lift their own ban on vehicles. The population have been going through much suffering as a result of the standoff between the belligerents of the ongoing crisis in Bali subdivision, through which huge economic transactions take place from Bamenda through the Trans-African corridor that opens up to neighboring Nigeria. And lecturers of the University of Bamenda are on day 3 of their strike action following rising insecurity and numerous threats on their lives. The campus has remained deserted for the past 3 days. The lecturers noted that despite the determination and resilience covered by for the past 5 years, the lecturers and staff of the university to adapt to their working conditions, the rate of kidnappings of lecturers keep rising, considering the need to optimize security strategies to minimize some of the risks associated with the incessant kidnapping and payment of ransom. The Sines University of Bamenda chapter decided to call for a strike action this week. It should be noted recently 3 lecturers were kidnapped and at gunpoint by unidentified men along the Bambwe axis. We'll certainly come back to that in our subsequent editions of Newscast. But right now we talk to Dr. Wungen Afotso, who is a lecturer at the University of Douala and also a member of Sines. She is in solidarity with lecturers who are currently on strike at the University of Bamenda.
Since the Nozo crisis, many lecturers have been kidnapped. Someone have been murdered at this place. So even despite the way that the university have tried to make sure that some of them will work in security, they have been doing it without any success. So we really need our army to give more protection to this colleague. Otherwise, most of them will be obliged to resign because their life is also important as the life of the other lecturer teaching elsewhere in the Cameroon. So it is important for those in charge of our security to be more proactive to protect lecturers on their way. Not just lecturer, but all those persons who are living at those places.
The
Planning and development are essential.
Especially with population census has been underscored for the better determination or decision-making of the nation Cameroon with prolonged unavailability of national population census. There is therefore bound to be a prediction discrepancies in policy making. As we end the following story with Gladys Ambo Zibang.
Planning and development are essential parts of routine activities of any effective government working for the welfare of its citizens. Statistics, therefore, play a crucial role in the attainment of its goals.
For instance, unemployment cannot be measured without having statistics. We need to have a population census, and of this population census, what is the demography of the number of people who are in the country, the age groups, the gender, and all the like we need to have in order to be able to measure the performance of a given economy. And then also you need statistics to measure to be able to distribute resources. These are needed for its benchmarking.
One who speaks development planning speaks about forecasting and a projection. There's no way you can do projection in time and in space, 5 years, 10 years, without gathering statistics.
Population and housing census is often said to be the only source of valuable information needed for planning, management and research. And for a country like Cameroon, with prolonged unavailability of a national population census, development is bound to be affected.
The most important of that statistic in the nation building is the population. If you don't have a population census that is exact, that tells you the number of people that are available within the same nation, how will you develop infrastructure, routes, and social amenities, hospitals?
Many investors who would have loved to invest in Cameroon, but due to lack of a picture of what of the nation, or the thing that is a challenge due to this lack of a census in Cameroon is regional imbalance. I can bet you there are many things that the government is not really distributing the resources equitably. The census is really needed in order to rectify some of these flaws in our country.
However, a number of factors have always been raised as challenges to census taking. They include, amongst others, cost pressures, privacy and response burden, difficulties in accessing secure apartments, and timeliness concerns.
Of a vigilante group in Garwa tous subdivision are currently receiving medical care after they were attacked and wounded by unknown individuals. The Lamido of Garwa paid a courtesy visit to the victims. As we hear the following story with Gladys Ambo Tiba.
This charred wreck of motorcycles and stains of blood are the aftermath of an attack in Galbija 3 in the Garwa tous subdivision, North region of Cameroon. Hoodmen with machetes reportedly attacked these members of the vigilante group in the locality. Yesterday at about 10 p.m., while I was returning home from my neighbor, I decided to stop by an off-license. That is where I met these young guys attacking others, and before I could help my colleagues, I discovered my arm had already taken another shape. I then realized it was more serious than I had imagined. The Lamido of Garwa and his close aides, who were informed, immediately stormed the hospital to sympathize and encourage the victims. 7 members of the vigilante group were badly wounded. The chaos was orchestrated by a former traditional leader who felt disappointed and cheated after the sale of a piece of land. But according to close aides of the Lamido, it is a settlement of scores. We are taking care of the victims' treatment and we will follow up their situation to the end. Authorities and the legal department will intervene in the case at the right time. His Majesty Ibrahima El Rashidini, who took stock of the situation, reassured the victims of special attention on their health and reminded management of the Garwa Regional Hospital to take the necessary measures to provide the victims with proper treatment.
The free campaign to construct cleft lips and palates in children have effectively begun at the Gynaco Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital in Goso in Yaoundé. Some 25 babies have been booked for surgery and many more are expecting as a year. With Beatrice Ngamu.
Images of baby Ibrahim and Daniel, 4 and 3, Gynaco Obstetric and Pediatric Hospital.